Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to get you started with Pioneer Masters and some of the new decks that will be coming to MTG Arena in the next coming week. This set will drop on Tuesday, December 10th onto the client. So you'll be able to get an injection of a whole bunch of the missing cards from Pioneer that will pretty much bring us from Explorer to Pioneer. It's like 95, 96% of the full kind of collection of sets. This will be a draftable set, so you can draft as well. So the full list of cards that are coming to the client, I'll link it here so you can see them all. There is a lot. There's a lot of mythics. Some cards are getting downgraded. Fiendslayer Paladin, for example. There's a very interesting choice of set symbols, let's say, for that. So we're going to look at some decks that are Pioneer legal that haven't up to this point been fully legal in standard, so things, or sorry, in Explorer, so things you can take a look at. We'll also look at some recent 5.0s with some cool cards that are included. Obviously, a bunch of decks that are currently legal in Explorer, things like Rakdos Demons, Rakdos Aggro, Gruul Aggro, bunch of different, like the Selesnya Company decks. Those are all still viable. We'll do a metagame breakdown once the new cards are in the set, and we can look at how the win rates of those new decks are relative to the existing things. But this is to kind of give you an idea of what's getting going. If you are a fan of Pioneer or kind of arena tournaments, well, I'm going to be commentating on one. And our good friend on the channel, Jaffer, another content creator, will be hosting a free-to-play tournament via MTG Melee on December 21st. We'll link the information there if you want to register. So it'll be streamed on his channel. I'm going to be commentating the Swiss rounds with Hamhawks, another content creator. So it'll be a nice kind of set review, seeing what new things people are bringing and stuff like that. So definitely get started. These are kind of akin to the Pizza Box opens that we had before, community-driven tournaments with some great coverage and some really good-looking commentators. But let's jump into the details themselves. But actually, before we do, one more thing. You'll notice top left-hand corner, there's a charity goal. If you're kind of new to this, every penny I make off YouTube this month, I'm donating it to a local Toronto food bank. So we have a goal of $800. We've started really strong. Standard videos to start the month always do well. And then we're at 108. So watching the channel helps a lot. Basically, just everything I make, I'm rolling it over and donating to charity. Enough of that. Let's jump into it. So first deck, these are going to come from like MTGO challenges and stuff like that because it's our biggest repository right now for Pioneer content. This one went top 8 in one of the challenges by Capriccioso. So this is an updated take on the 5-color Niv decks. So Niv Mizzet Reborn, Niv Mizzet Supreme, we got Nivs in here. One of the new cards coming, Sylvan Caryatid. 2 mana, 0/3, Defender Hexproof. Add 1 mana of any color. So big thing here, it can block fairly well. It can't be shot down like Paradise Druid when it taps. And it can help you ramp up, providing you with any color. The other new card we got in the deck that will be coming to Arena is Bring to Light. So most of these decks are usually phrased as Niv to Lights, where Bring to Light's actually more copies than Niv in these decks. So this has the ability to converge, basically. Looks at the number of colors that you pay your mana. Ideally, if you pay 5, you can search for creature, instant, sorcery with CMC equal to or less, and you can cast without paying its mana cost. This gives you a toolboxy style effect where you can find like a Sunfall if you need it, an Unmoored Ego for combo decks. Cool thing you can do is you can get Valky and then cast it for the Tibbletaff. Just the way that magic works. You have like Elenda in here, which is a cool addition. Obviously, your Niv is one of the big targets. Just refill your hand. And then just a bunch of situational removal, all things that can be found off Niv. So we have that. It's a bunch of dual lands, stuff like that. And then your sideboard. I don't think there's any new cards in here, stuff that we don't already have. The big kind of deck that's going to be coming to the format, this one is Lotus Field Combo Lava Ridge. So I'm actually like least excited to have this deck on Arena. This reminds me of Nexus of Fate, where one player is just kind of playing with themselves over and over, and this is a kid-friendly stream, so we don't want that here. But I just don't like playing against these types of decks. I find them boring, but people love these types of strategies. So it's built around the card Lotus Field. And what you're trying to do is tap and tap it multiple times to generate a whole bunch of mana. You could copy it with Thespian Stage. Is that got a number of cards added to it. Most notably, Hidden Strings. So Hidden Strings, you may tap or untap another permanent. Then you may tap or untap another target permanent. So you can have like 2 Lotus Fields and then tap and tap, generating mana. Even just that 1 Lotus Field, 2 mana to generate 3, and then you untap it so you net out a mana. And then it has the ability Cipher. Basically, think of it as like it imprints on a creature, and that creature gets when this creature... so you do have to exile the spell, but think of it kind of gets stuck under it. Whenever that creature deals damage to an opponent, you get to cast this spell for free. Then we have Peer into the... Oh, no. Did we get the other ones? Some of them will play like that big 7 mana mythic, just drawing your whole deck. But this one doesn't. Dark Petition is another card we're getting, I believe. And then this one here basically is a tutor. Basically what you're trying to do, draw, discard, play a whole bunch of spells, tap on tap with like Pour of Pages, stuff like that. Archdruid's Charm can also help you find your Lotus Fields. And then you have Lier, which will allow you to recast stuff from your graveyard. Emergent Ultimatum helps you find pieces. Fae of Wishes into your sideboard. You eventually win with Approach the Second Sun. You can also like Zakama. Actually, with this, you can't Zakama. This won't allow you to find the Zakama. This is only non-creature spells. So if you're interested in Lotus Field, like I don't play this deck that much, or ever. So I'm not the best for like detailed lines. There's probably a lot of great content creators out there. Another card that we're getting in the set is the Dragon Lord cycle. Dromoka basically deals with anything that's trying to interact at instant speed with your combo. We then have Enigmatic Incarnation. Chain to the Rocks is a card that came in that these decks played at some time. Looks like the more recent versions haven't. Obviously, we have the Enigmatic deck in some instance right now, but this one here also has a card that's coming in Linvala, the Preserver, 6 mana, 5/5. Enters, you gain 5 life if your opponent has more cards. If your opponent has more creatures, you get to put an angel. So it's kind of a juiced up Beza in that case. A little bit more life and then a little bit more there. Other than that, like it looks like Roaring Furnace came in over the Chain to the Rocks, but maybe Pia could be reasonable again. I spent a bunch of time building the deck, then never got to play it before it got phased out of the meta. So this is kind of a Zur Overlord deck. If you're playing Zur in like standard, this deck's got a lot of the cards that overlap with it as well. Plus you get to play Fable, Cheeto Oculus, stuff like that. So not so much a deck, but a card, a very strong card. You'll only ever need one, but any black-based mid-range deck is going to be having at least a copy of Urborg. Rakdos, Mono Black, Golgari, whatever it may be. This turns any of your non-black producing lands, Field of Ruin, Mutavault, anything like that becomes a swamp in addition to this other type. Notably, this is kind of a global effect. It will affect your opponent's cards as well, so keep that in mind. What we're going to see it in is a deck here. Oh, they're actually not playing Urborg. Interesting. So I take that back, but this one was a cool one. This one got 5-0 in a league. It's a Dimir mid-range deck. We're also getting Tasker into the format. One of my favorite commanders of all time. But this one here is an unstoppable slasher. We got Kiora in here. So it's like a draw discard, kind of pseudo self-mill. You got Bank Busters, whole bunch of cheap interaction. It's kind of a Rakdos mid, a little bit more control-y, I would say. That's looking to kind of filter your draws. No Fable, obviously, but you have that. And then Gyre's Reach as a way to draw discard mixed in. So interesting kind of shell there. Dark Betrayal. I think we might be getting this. I'd have to double check on that, but it gives you an idea of some other decks. But this could just be any kind of removal as you feel fit. Then we have a new card for Selesnya Enchantments, Gladecover Scout. 1 mana, 1/1 Hexproof. Hexproof being a very impactful keyword. Your opponent can't target it. You could target it, but your opponent can't. So this just helps having a threat on one that's hard to deal with. You have Shram and Light Paws that provide utility when you cast a bunch of auras. You got Shardmaid Rescue and Sheltered by Ghost, 2 very impactful cards. We're seeing this in, if you're familiar with Historic at all, the Boros Auras deck's very, very strong. It may make a switch over to green with having Gladecover as an additional 1-drop in that sense. Otherwise, your sideboard, you pretty much have it covered already in the set. And lastly, this one's a cool one. So this one's from Tulio Wadi. They're like an MTGO grinder, always putting up results. They got 5-0 in a league with green-white cats. And Burmaz came in Jumpstart. So we already have Burmaz. So that's kind of a recent one. We're getting Fleece Mane Lion in this set. So it gives us another creature here. But just cat tribal built around like a Rabo and stuff. Sky Knight Squire in here. You have Sacred Cat, Felidar Sovereign, Savannah Line. So cool kind of concept here. Collected cats. Hallowed Moonlight is one that I'm not sure if it came in. Let's see. We did get it. So if a creature would enter and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. So anything cheating into play creatures would kind of play an effect there. So some decks to get you started. Like I said, we'll do metagame challenge. We'll cover all that, but wanted to just kind of brief folks, let people know about the tournament and give people some starting points. Obviously, if you're building your collection still, your existing decks are still fine. Rakdos, any of those decks. Play Fable, the Mirror Breaker, you'll probably win a Pro Tour. It's usually how these things go, but we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.